And hello, WayFam from Porto in Portugal.
I'm Ashley, this is Josh, and our good friend Laura.
We sold everything we had to travel the world except for Laura. We didn't sell her at all. And now we want to share with you the way away.
So be sure to subscribe down below, give us a like, and hit that bell so you can follow more of our crazy adventures.
Let's go. Today we are in Porto, as I explained. We are taking the Porto Walks wine tasting tour.
Yeah, of Porto.
So there you go. That's the setup.
Port.
Today we're gonna just taste a bunch of wines and we're gonna see Portugal in the meantime. The tour has started with Porto Walks. We are walking across the bridge from the Porto side over to the other side. Do you remember the name of this one?
Nope, I don't know. Laura probably knows.
It's technically a different city. If you don't know, we are coming off the back of another tour where we just had a little bit of wine ourselves. So we're quite loose and lubricated, ready for this tour, which is all about wine. What was the name of this side of town?
I believe it's called Gaia.
Gaia, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that earlier, but
Usually you're the one with the facts. Laura was prepared.
I got this one.
Yeah. Good thing we have
It's
Laura.
good, everybody survived crossing the bridge. Yes. And a lot of people stop by in there also because they have the kids jumping from the bridge. And even they are posing for the pictures, as you can see.
So to be clear, there is a river here in Porto. It's called the Douro. It is in between the two areas. The one on the left, the one that we're at, is Gaia. And then on the right, where we spent the morning, is called Porto. So these two cities are completely separated by this one river, the Douro, that feeds into all the vineyards along the Douro Valley, where we will be visiting tomorrow. We are starting our tour at Ramos Pinto. They're going to take us through a museum, and then we're going to have a proper tasting of port wine. Seriously, you cannot come to Porto, Portugal without trying port wine.
And if you watched our previous video, we actually got a sample bottle from this same vinter, and it's in our sample pack for our Patreon, so check that out.
We had no idea we were going to try it, but we'll let you know how it is. I'm sure it's amazing. It's port wine. Come on.
First stop done and dusted. Ooh, that is already so potent. Okay, so if you don't drink wine, if you don't know anything about port, you probably heard about it, but maybe you don't know what it actually is. Port, specifically, is a wine from the Douro Valley region of Portugal. It can only be called a port if it's from that area, just like Champagne from Champagne in France. Something really special about port, though, is that unlike other wines, it's what's called a fortified wine. Basically, wine is made, and then 2 to 5 days after the fermentation process starts, they add a ton of wine brandy. It's like 75% liquor, essentially. And that stops the fermentation process. That means it doesn't have a lot of alcohol created from the fermentation process of the wine, but it does add a lot of the liquor brandy. So it's about a 20 to 25% alcohol per volume wine, but when they stop the fermentation process early, it creates a very sweet wine because there's still a lot of sugar left that the yeast didn't get to eat. So that creates a very sweet wine with a very high alcohol content, making it extremely potent and dangerous because, well, it just tastes sweet and delicious. we're gonna go off and try some more wines. But now that you guys know that, we're gonna try and pick out some different flavors and explain to you what we're drinking.
When coming to Portugal, you'll realize that there is a lot of things made out of cork. It's because cork is grown here in Portugal, and 60% of the cork that you'll find in bottles of wine is from here in Portugal. With Spain and Portugal combined, that's 90% of all the corks that you'll find in wine bottles.
At our next stop, we have now the third port wine. Again, if you don't know a lot about ports, there are three main types of ports. You have white port, red or ruby port, and tawny port. At the first two places we tried white and tawny. This is a ruby port. The main differences are tawny is stored in an oak barrel and aged probably around 7 years on average, sometimes longer. But ruby and white are stored in vats. They don't interact with wood and other things. They don't get oxidized as much. And that means that you get a lot more of the sweetness and the characteristics of the grapes themselves. So this is a tawny, and I'm gonna try it for the very first time. Yeah, it's like a thick, syrupy grape juice, but with a really strong wine finish. It's not very spicy. That would be like a tawny characteristic. You can see here a lot of the syrup. I'm sure there's a technical term for that, but you can see the thickness of the sugars in there. It's a really thick, sweet, syrupy wine. It's delicious.
It's so sweet, but has like a bitter aftertaste. I feel like it's really kind of bitter. I actually think this is my least favorite out of the three.
The ruby, really?
Yeah. I think maybe at our last place, or the place we were at on the other tour, was the same way, but I think I'm partial to the white. What are we having? Ports. Guys, I'm here, I promise. I'm partial to the white ports, I think. But this is still good. Laura's the one finishing off mine.
As a reminder, these are around 20% average alcohol by volume.
Yeah, it's definitely the type of wine where you just have a small amount and you sip for a long period of time. It's nothing you can rush. You just have to enjoy. Get to enjoy. Rooftop of Porto Cruz, and we are trying the baby of the family of port, the rosé port. It was approved in 2008, which makes it super young, but it's really delicious.
Yeah, the alcohol hits the back of your throat.
Our tour has just ended. Exactly when the sun started setting.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you so much to Porto Walkers for the amazing tour. We learned so much about port today.
It was essentially like a Porto primer. Like, I feel like I know more about port now.
I knew nothing about port before coming on this tour. But it was really fun learning it. I do suggest, like, when you're in a place and they're really good at doing something, learn about it.
So thank you again to Porto Walkers for making this possible. If you want, check the link in the description to come on this tour yourself. A big shout out to Rohan M, one of our patrons, for helping make today possible. Sorry, we've had a lot of ports today, guys. Thank you, Rohan, for helping make this port possible. He's a Patreon and he's helping make all of our videos possible. This is amazing. Thank you, Rohan, and all of our Patreons.
I'm cutting you off. Okay, thanks guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao!
Drink port.
Affogato.
Affogato. Wow, you've had port too.
No, you're supposed to say that.
You said affogato, which is an Italian drink of
Oh,
coffee and
shoot.
ice cream.
Sorry guys. It's similar to the thank you in Portuguese.
Obrigada.
Oh yeah,
Obrigado.
obrigada. Affogato, obrigada.
We've all had port.